In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Out of the chaos, he formed a beautiful world filled with nations and peoples, each with their own stories and destinies. Among these nations was a land called Iran, known in ancient times as Elam and later Persia. This land, rich in history and culture, played a significant role in the unfolding story of God's people and his divine plan for the world. Long ago, in the days before the kings and conquerors, the land of Persia was inhabited by the Elamites, a people believed to be descendants of Shem, one of Noah's sons. The Elamites settled in this fertile land around the 4th millennium BC, establishing one of the earliest civilizations in the region. They built cities, cultivated the land, and worshipped their gods, yet God's sovereignty over all nations remained steadfast. As centuries passed, Indo-Aryan tribes migrated into the region, bringing with them new languages and cultures. Among these tribes were the Persians, Medes, Parthians, and others, all speaking Indo-European languages. These tribes intermingled with the Elamites, and over time, they formed a powerful empire that would shape history. In the 7th century BC, under the leadership of a mighty ruler named Cyaxares and later Cyrus the Great, Persia was united into a vast empire. Cyrus, a king of remarkable wisdom and divine favor, became known as the King of Persia. His reign marked the beginning of Persia's golden age, where the empire expanded across much of the known world. The biblical prophet Daniel, in his visions, saw a spiritual figure called the Prince of Persia, a supernatural being who opposed the angel Gabriel. This prince represented a spiritual force influencing the earthly kingdom of Persia, illustrating how nations are under divine and spiritual watch. The book of Daniel records that Gabriel was delayed in his mission to Daniel because of the resistance of this prince, revealing the unseen battles behind political power. Cyrus the Great is celebrated in the Bible for his kindness and his role as an instrument of God's plan. In the book of Ezra, it is written that God stirred up Cyrus to allow the Jewish exiles in Babylon to return to Jerusalem and rebuild their temple. Cyrus issued a decree, often called the Edict of Cyrus, freeing the Israelites from captivity and giving them permission to restore their worship and homeland. The prophet Isaiah even foretold this event centuries earlier, calling Cyrus God's anointed and a servant whom he would use to fulfill his purposes. This act of divine favor toward Cyrus and the Jewish people highlights a profound truth: God raises up leaders, even from among pagan nations, to accomplish his divine will. Cyrus's kindness and support for God's people demonstrate that God's plans transcend human boundaries and political borders. Throughout the centuries, Persia continued to grow in power and influence. Kings like Darius and Xerxes came after Cyrus, each playing roles in biblical history. Darius, for example, supported the rebuilding of Jerusalem and the gates of the city, ensuring that God's covenant people could restore their city and worship freely. Xerxes, also known as Ahasuerus, is remembered in the story of Esther, where a Jewish girl becomes queen and saves her people from destruction. But Persia's story was not only one of support and kindness. The biblical narrative also speaks of spiritual battles and prophesies concerning Persia. In the book of Ezekiel, Gog and Magog are mentioned in connection with a future conflict involving many nations, including Persia. These prophecies reveal God's sovereignty over the nations, and his plans for judgment and salvation. God's dealings with Persia were complex. While he used Persian kings to fulfill his purposes, he also warned of future judgment for their pride and rebellion. The prophet Jeremiah foretold that Persia would rise and fall, emphasizing that all earthly kingdoms are temporary and subject to God's sovereignty. In the New Testament, the influence of Persia is seen in the story of the wise men who visited Jesus after his birth. These magi, from the east, are believed to have come from regions influenced by Persian culture and knowledge. Their journey to worship the newborn king shows how Persia and its traditions continue to play a role in God's unfolding plan of salvation. The history of Persia is intertwined with the biblical story of God's faithfulness to his covenant people. Despite the rise and fall of empires, God's promises remain sure. The Jewish exiles who returned from Babylon, aided by Persian kings, rebuilt their city and their worship, fulfilling God's promise to restore them after their captivity. As we reflect on these stories, we see that history is not just about kings and wars but about God's divine orchestration. He raises up nations, influences rulers, and guides events to fulfill His eternal purposes. Persia, with its mighty kings and spiritual significance, serves as a testament to God's sovereignty over all history. Today, Iran, the modern land of Persia, continues to be a place of profound spiritual and cultural significance. It is a land where ancient prophecies and biblical history converge, reminding us that God's plans are eternal and His purposes unstoppable. We invite you to like this video if you found this story inspiring. Leave your comments below, sharing your thoughts or questions about Persia and its biblical connections. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more captivating stories from the Bible and history. Share this message with your family and friends so that more people can discover the incredible ways God's Word intersects with world history. Remember, every story in the Bible points to the divine sovereignty of God. From the rise of ancient Persia to the fulfillment of prophecy in Jesus Christ, God's hand is at work. Keep exploring His Word, stay curious about His plans, and trust that He is guiding history toward His glorious purpose. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the rich history of Persia and its biblical significance. Until next time, continue to seek the truth, deepen your faith, and share the good news of Jesus Christ with others. Every story has a deeper meaning, and God's story is the greatest of all. Be blessed, and see you in the next episode.